Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Hello, fellow Fox fans. How are we doing? It's Tuesday. It's 7:30. It must be the preview show because tomorrow we got a little matter of this. It is, and I don't know about you, I'm totally confused. I was looking forward to a week off this week with no European football, but the Premier League have slipped a little another game in there. We've got Everton coming up. One thing I do know is this is what you're doing.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris and Chums. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Pinterest. All you need for everything Leicester City FC. It's Leicester Till I Die TV. Leicester Till I Die, now available on Spotify.
Other podcasts are available, as they say. So it's Everton tomorrow. One of the pre-season favourites, new manager in with a lot of experience, even in the Premier League. Some good signings, started off well. So how are you feeling? Nervous? Confident? We'll find out how my chap chum Craig feels in just a second. But just a reminder, if you are watching us, you can watch us live on YouTube, which is Leicester Till I Die TV. You can watch us on Periscope, Twitter, which is at Leicester TID. And, of course, Facebook is the Leicester Till I Die group. And I keep asking every week, if you do want to, or if you are watching on Facebook, we want your comments. Really, I mean, that's the whole part of the show is we want to hear what you think about the top topics we're talking about. If you click on that StreamYard link in the Facebook group, just means we can see you. It'll bring your Facebook details up. Doesn't cost. You don't have to register. It's very easy. It just helps me out. And I know you really want to help me out, don't you? And if you don't want to watch me, but you sooner listen to me, and can't blame you for that, catch up with us later on your favourite podcast. Like I said before, Spotify, as mentioned, but we're also on Google, we're on Apple iTunes, and we're on Anchor, all under Leicester Till I Die. Anyway, it is Tuesday, it is the preview show, and what I'm going to do is bring my chat chum Craig in, and he can tell us how he's feeling about tomorrow night. Let's bring him in. Craig, good evening to you.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing?
Good, I'm good. I'm fine, mate. I'm fine. You're looking particularly festive there. You look to me like you're about to. As soon as we finish here, you're going to snuggle up on the sofa, get yourself a little bit of Baileys, and watch a Christmas movie. Am I right?
Baileys. How dare you, sir? Well, we're only 10 days off. I mean, in 10 days' time, will be Christmas Eve. In fact, no, won't it be? Yeah, it will be Christmas Eve because 11 days' time, it's going to be Christmas Day. Have you got your turkey? Have you got your turkey?
Have you been on the Baileys already?
I wish. Honestly, put it in a mug and it looks like coffee.
There we go.
Well, you got to.
I'm sure there'll be something that I can shove in the oven later.
I think we should quickly move on.
Probably.
Everton tomorrow. Yeah, Everton tomorrow. I'm feeling a lot more confident after the performance on the weekend. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling confident as well. I think it was nice to see Brendan switch the formation when he realised it wasn't working, rather than waiting. You know, it took 20 minutes, saw that we needed to make a change, and did it, which was great. Everton have dropped off a little bit from what I've seen of them. Rodriguez has picked up injuries now, and I'm not sure he'll be rushing himself back. To be honest, he looked like he was losing interest fairly quickly. And what was the biggest surprise for me, and I'm really pleased to see it, we saw it against Athens, and then it carried on into that Brighton game, was the fact that we seemed to have ditched the zonal marking at corners, and we were doing short corners. I mean,
And
clearly they've taken on all the criticism and done something about it.
I think Brendan watches the show. I think even more so is the fact that when we did do the odd long corner, because it was a minute into the game, we got our first corner and thought, right, I'm watching it. We've got my notepad ready. And I think it was Under that took it straight over into the box, got it past first man, and I fell on the floor. But it's really confusing because, like I say, I've actually done the opposition view for tomorrow with Everton fan. It's on the YouTube page, let's say Leicester TV, if you want to catch up on it. They're a bit concerned about where it's gone, but that's I've already done that. But we have got them on Sunday. It's a 6 p.m. kickoff, so it might finish in time for me to watch Antiques Roadshow, and it's on the old Amazon Prime again. Everton, I mean,
I was just going to say, Chris, for anybody who just hangs on your every word, it's not Sunday; it is Wednesday. I think Chris is getting so used to us playing on a Sunday now that
look, I've put Wednesday there. Look, it says Wednesday.
You put it there, but people just listen to every word you say, Chris. That's it. You know, you put postings up.
What did I say before I came on? What sort of day have I had?
Not a good one.
I wish this was a bloody Bailey's, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'll be more polite. Use more polite language. It wasn't a great day for you.
It was not. I've definitely had better on it, but I might just. I haven't got any Baileys. I've got some Jack Daniels. Might have a bit of that afterwards. I was talking to the Everton fan, and I mean they were very, very optimistic about the season. I mean you get a manager like Ancelotti in, and they may a bit like ourselves didn't sort of go mad, but they bought really, really well. But yes, they have sort of teetered off a little bit, haven't they?
They have, and I'm not sure what it is. They lost Richarlison for 2 or 3 games, I think, when he got himself sent off and suspended. As I say, Rodriguez has picked up injuries. Digne has been out and isn't due back, I think, for at least another month. Seamus Coleman. So very much like us, they lost both fullbacks. I think what it shows is that we have a bit more strength in depth than a club like Everton do, which is great testament to us and the job that we've done in terms of building a squad, because the people they've brought in are clearly not as strong as their first teamers.
I think we need to get some of our players back, though. I mean, as you said, I was actually on Talk Sport at the weekend ahead of the Brighton game, and they brought up the fact, Fuchs actually looked sort of dead on his legs at some parts of the games that we've played recently. They've done really, really well. The players that have come in, we can't deny it. With all the injuries, and we're still sitting there 4th in the league and top of the group and through for Europe. But it can't go on. These players, Morgan, Fuchs, they're not designed to play in as many. Well, not designed, but they're not that age now where they can play 2 or 3 2 games a week, and they were playing 2 games a season before.
Yeah, and I think doesn't help obviously with having Evans suspended. He picks up far too many silly bookings for me. He goes in for challenges where he's never going to win the ball, and he's experienced enough to know, for me, that we're a bit light on defenders at the moment in terms of injuries. He also knows that he's on 4 bookings and we've got some games coming up. For me, he's got to be a bit more, use his experience a little bit more and try and avoid bookings, because I know with the referees we have, it doesn't matter what happens, you can do the same tackle someone did 5 seconds before, not get booked, and then you'd get booked. But I think he needed to try and get himself through that game. But, it is what it is. It gives one of the youngsters like Morgan a chance, I guess.
Hey, get your boots on, Craig. Get your boots on. I mean, we're doing that. Looking at sort of our history, and I always bring these up. I love my stats. Total games played. We've played 113 all in our equivalent histories. Pretty close there. We've won 38, They've won 43. Nobody's really got bragging rights, have they?
Definitely not. And I think over recent years, it's been a bit topsy-turvy. Obviously, they've had many more years of success than we've had. But no, that's not a bad record. Only 5 more wins than we've got. And I think we've probably turned that around a little bit more over the previous few seasons. So, and as I say, I'm confident going into this game. It looks like we are getting some players back, but we're also getting players who look a little bit more confident as well. Confident. It was interesting to hear that Rodgers has been spending a lot of time with Maddison, sort of one-to-ones, and we got a much better performance out of Maddison against Brighton. It looked more like his old self, wanting to get on the ball and basically show off a little bit. So it'd be good to have a really confident Maddison back and pushing himself forward towards that English squad again.
I can see Maddison is going to be one of those annoying, not say annoying, but yeah, I'm going to say annoying players where you play him and he's hitting corner after corner straight at the first man, free kicks are going way over, and then he produces a sublime bit of magic like he did with his goal. I mean, that goal, do you remember the Mahrez goal? I think it was against Chelsea or Man City in the championship winning team. Almost the same position. Turning left, turning round, play. It reminded me of that. It was a sublime goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you knew the old Maddison was back when he did his knee slide and his little nod to the camera afterwards. And it was interesting when he was interviewed after the game that he almost took umbrage with the reporter for saying that it was on his weaker foot. He went to great pains to point out the fact that, he practices with both feet and he doesn't think he's got a weaker foot. But, that's all part of the confident Maddison that we want to see again. Yes,
yeah. I mean, it's a bit like, it's exactly the same with Vardy, and people always pick up with Vardy. He doesn't, has the least touches of any player on the pitch at half time again against Brighton. But does he need that many touches? I mean, the guy is it 34 now? Let him just have the odd touch here and there. I'd sooner him have 9 touches and score a goal or two than have 20 and not score at all.
No, I was watching the game and Scott mentioned at what point will they mention the Jamie Vardy touch map? And lo and behold, there it was again. It doesn't matter, does it? He does the job that Brendan wants of him, which is having his touches in the areas where it counts. And if he has 3 touches and he scores 3 goals, that's fine for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's 3 points, hopefully, at the end of it. Last season, we beat them at the start of December, just before the wheels came off, 2-1. Back in July, they beat us, but then, Derby and Jones United could have beaten us after the lockdown. They beat us 2-1. Any memories of those games last season?
Not a lot, to be honest. I do remember the away game, watching that after we all came back. And again, just another of those frustrating teams. There was a team there who were almost ready and waiting to be beaten. If a half-decent Leicester had turned up after the lockdown, we'd have got that Champions League spot easy, to be honest. But we just weren't at it, were we? And we allowed them to take the points, and not a great Everton side at that time, to be honest. I think Calvert-Lewin didn't finish the season particularly strongly after a decent start. But it's a new season for us. The team's looking much stronger. Hopefully there won't be any lockdown to get in the way of this season. We can just follow it through and play with the confidence that we seem like we're getting back.
Calvert-Lewin, you mentioned him there. He's 1 goal ahead of Vardy. He, he's at the top of the scoring league so far. We're a third of the way through the season, which is scary. It really is scary, but we've got to be worried about him, especially with the way, we like I say, we're just losing the defenders. We seem to get the defence on the mend, and then, like you say, Evans gets sent off. Not sent off, sorry, he gets suspended. He gets booked and suspended. Worried about Calvert-Lewin and our defence?
Definitely. I mean, I've taken that into account into the team formation that I've put together that Brenda will ignore. But yeah, I mean,
be careful. He does watch and listen to you.
Yeah, I'm sure. He's a for the sake of it, an old-fashioned centre forward in that he scores his goals in the box. A 6-yard box predator almost, and I think that's the key for us. We've got to stop the feed into him. He doesn't tend to create a lot himself, so he does rely on those around him to make the chances for him. And the number of one-touch finishes that he's had this season speaks for itself. So for me, our main aim to keep Calvert-Lewin quiet has got to be to keep the people who are feeding him quiet, to be honest, and keep him isolated.
Yeah. We did play them a third time last season, and that was the cup game. And the Everton fan does remember the Nacho equaliser at the end, which beat to penalties. They're fair. I've been there. I was in the Bournemouth end when Vardy went on his 11-11, and I had to sit there surrounded by these really big Bournemouth fans. But at least you're getting to see the game, at least wherever you sit. I can say, I look at Everton. Everton are very similar to us in the fact that they are one of those teams now. They've probably, you said, they've had a bit more success, but they've always promised so much, but never quite delivered.
It's a team that for the majority of their existence, or maybe going back slightly different, but let's say in the modern era, or maybe the era that we remember, so the 60s onwards, and obviously, you go back to the black and white days of football, Chris, but from the 60s onwards,
the leather ball,
the shadow. Imagine having to live in the shadow of the neighbours that you share the city with. For me, it's great testament to Everton and Everton fans that they stick with their team, even though that the noisy neighbours, as it were, have been winning. And I remember I went up to Everton for the cup game, probably 4 seasons ago, when Musa scored 2 goals and we knocked them out of the cup. I was thinking of getting a T-shirt made that I saw Musa score 2 in a game, but it was a good old-fashioned football ground. Goodison Park is, and the fans were great, and they used to be a team that I really, really didn't like growing up. Everton and West Ham were the two teams for no particular reason, but they were the two teams.
A reason for that at all?
No, not at all. I think with West Ham, I got fed up of hearing that they were the Academy of Football, about how all their players who came through and played the West Ham way. I just got fed up of hearing that. Everton, I don't know why. Maybe because they wore blue as well. I don't know, but I never really liked them. But I've got a little more affection for them since I've been up there a couple of times and spoke to some of the fans. And it is a proper old-fashioned football club. And fair play to them, but they're coming back to life the same way as we are, because they've got an established manager who knows what he's doing. And Ancelotti is doing a great job there. I think you can see that what they haven't done is thrown a lot of money. They've thrown some money at it, but they're going through a period like us. They're looking to move ground, whereas we've put a lot onto our training ground. They've got a new ground on the way, so I'm sure they're being a little bit cautious in terms of how they spend their money. But I think it's definitely a team on the up.
They have. Yeah, the owner that they've got now, it'd be interesting to see if they change. One or two people. We've got fantastic owners. Can't say anything other than that. But it is a different feel to the club than what it was, when we were in the old League One and what have you. And it's harder to get things, but that comes with the club growing. And Everton, like I say, they're on the brink there. I was talking to the Everton fan, and we were saying that there's all this talk about top six, big six, and all this. They're never going to change. If Arsenal get relegated, they'll still be classed as a big six club, not a top six, but a big six. It's a case of the likes of Everton and us making it a big seven and a big eight and expanding it a little bit.
But I think before, let's say Pochettino went in at Spurs and had them finishing in the top four on consecutive seasons, I think Everton were thought of as the other big club. It's only that they dropped off a bit and Spurs took their place. They were always classed as a big club, Everton, and they are a big club. Their history, their fan base or whatever. But as you say, they've dropped down the rankings, and it seems strange now that we used to have a top four when, or the big four when it was Champions League places. That's all they were talking about. Now it's you've got to finish in the top six. That we now have a big six. If we get more places in Europe, are we going to have a big 12? I don't know. It just seems a bit strange. But there's big clubs, there's big teams. It's where you are in the league that counts at the end of the day, whether you're classed as a big club or not. And I'll take where we are over where Everton are at the moment.
Yes, and they did have that season where they did spend a lot of money. I think it was when Silva came in, and they virtually bought a whole new team, and it didn't work for them. And it's not always about, and we've seen this year with us, it's about quality rather than quantity. It's
about a balance, isn't it? Because I remember they had Martinez before Silva, who's gone on to do a great job at Belgium. And when we were looking for a new manager, he was somebody that I was quite interested in. Obviously, Rodgers was the number one target, and happy to go and get him, and happy that we've got him. But I thought Martinez was a good shout as well. Although Everton fans weren't happy with him in the end because he played too much attacking football, and they lost games 4-3 or 5-4 or whatever. So it's about getting that balance. And with Ancelotti, they've probably got someone who's got enough experience to give them the balance. We're in the process of finding the balance, I think.
Yeah. I was about to say exactly the same thing because I was again talking to the guy, and they weren't keen on Martinez. They went, maybe hindsight, giving him a bit longer. You never know. But then they hadn't got the Belgian national team all playing for Everton, had they? So, a couple of comments here. And I say good evening to Andy. And I was very rude and didn't say good evening before. Dale Twigger, good evening. How is Mrs. Twigger? I hope she's well. She's not joining in, maybe because Brad's not in. And he did make this point earlier. I hope they put a defender on Calvin Lewin and not Tielemans. And he followed that up with, and I think he's obviously had a splinter or two in his backside when he's been to Everton, bloody wooden seats. But I think, what would you do with Calvert Lewin?
Well, for me, as I say, when we get onto the team that I've picked, I think you've got to make sure. I don't think it's about picking him up deep because, as I say, he doesn't seem to get that involved. It's when he's in the box. And for me, you've got to have contact with him. You've got to be physical with him. When the ball's out wide, and this is where I think we need to concentrate and stop the delivery into him. But your first point is, who's the danger? Where's the danger? And that you need to get touch tight to him and be physical with him. He does like that physical battle. And he will try and dominate. He's got a great leap. So balls in the air. If you're going to give him a free header, he's going to put them away. So again, I think we need to get tight and get physical. So I think that's how you deal with Calvert-Lewin, not necessarily by putting somebody on him, but just being aware of him.
You were talking before we came live and saying Leicester, we seem to have moved away from the zonal marking now.
Yeah, it was great to see. I think we started it. I guess I noticed it against Athens that we'd stopped the zonal marking, but then again we followed it through to Brighton, and we were getting much more physical with them. They got some decent players in the air, Brighton, but I don't think we actually gave them a free header. There may have been one, but I don't think we looked much more comfortable getting touch tight and sort of grappling with them, as it were. You do risk, obviously, one of the stupid refereeing decisions, but we looked more comfortable going back to man marking and trying to go with runners than just standing there like statues and allow people to get the run on us. You allow somebody like Calvert-Lewin to get a run on you, he's going to beat you all day long. So hopefully we continue that.
And of course, we've got to think, thank Casper. I mean, Welbeck, he likes to score the odd goal against us. Had he got that one early on, we could have been looking at a different game.
I think we've had that a few times, that we've managed to get away with chances that you would expect top class strikers to finish. And I know it pains me a bit where people talk about, that one, not particularly, it wasn't a difficult chance, but where people say that these are difficult chances for strikers, at the end of it, these are people at the top of their profession. They're Premier League players. They shouldn't be judged by the likes of you and I being a difficult chance, and that one of Welbeck, that was, for me, it was a really good save from Casper, but it's what you'd expect. But for me, that's a bad miss rather than a great save.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. We're going to come on to your formation in a minute, but first of all, we went to about 4. Brendan saw the problem. He switched Albrighton and Justin, which was a masterstroke. And he got a 10 out of 10 off Alan Bennett, our match summariser, and we went to about 4. We do look a lot more comfortable and play a lot better with that back 4. Is it purely, I know Brendan, the same Brendan likes the back 3. Do you think he does like that back 3, or do you think it's because we've not had enough defenders to play a back 4?
For me, I think it's a little bit of both, but I think his hand has been forced by not having the strongest 2 to play. So he's almost tried to cover that by having a 3. But what it means is that your wing-backs get caught out of position, your 2 side people in your 3 get pulled out, and it's too easy to slip little passes in between. That chance that Welbeck had was because Fofana had come out, and it was too easy to just slide a ball in between the 3. And I think it's a similar thing as to when we played 2 defensive midfielders. There was a period where we played Ndidi and Mendy. I think it was towards the end of last season. And it's like you almost give over responsibility. So Mendy would think, well, Ndidi's got that, he can cover that, and vice versa. When it's just a 1, like Ndidi, it's his job. It's his area of the pitch. He needs to command it. And I think it's the same with when you're playing 3. You always think there's cover around because there's 3 of you, and it's not necessarily the case. When there's a 2, you've got to be on your game the whole time, and the responsibility is with you. So, it worked really well, and I think it's something that he definitely needs to look at and go with for me in this particular game, as I said, because the threat is not necessarily Calvert-Lewin, but the service that gets into Calvert-Lewin.
I'm can't wait to see whether you have gone for a back 3 or a back 4, but keep it to yourself for 1 minute. We'll take a quick 10-second break, and then we'll come back and we will have a look at you with Brendan's shoes on. Be right back after this.
Hi, Alan Smith here. Be sure to watch and listen to Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV. You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels. Up the Foxes!
Thanks, Alan. So welcome back. So again, I always say that isn't anything to do with your formation. That's just the graphic that I was able to find. But we are going to look at your formation and lineup. While we're doing that, let me just say, Doug, just a quick comment, see what the comment is. Here we go. Andy Meadows, I don't think you can play a back 3 with Under and Barnes in the team. Well, Under's not been starting in the Premier League, so we'll see what Craig thinks about that in a second. So, go on then. Let's have a look then. What we're going for this week then, Craig?
Well, we're going for a back 4 this week.
Really? I like your style, sir. I like the cut of your jib.
Well, as I say, for me, it's important to stop the supply in from the wings to Calvert-Lewin. And if we play with a 3, we tend to get caught open down the sides of the 3, which would just play into Everton's hands to make sure that they get in behind us and get delivery into Calvert-Lewin. So for me, we have to have a back four, and it's an interesting back four. And those who join you in other shows on this channel may be interested to see this back four. So right. I'm going to shock everyone and go with Casper in goal. So James Justin on the right, and I think James, on the right. I think he gives us the ability to not play with two wingers, if that makes sense, because he's such an athlete. You saw that in the Brighton game, he covered so much ground. Now, when you have a player like that, it's very similar to, for me, the way that Alexander-Arnold plays for Liverpool. They don't play with an out-and-out right-sided. Salah comes in off the right, but which means he leaves loads of space for Alexander-Arnold to gallop into. And I think that'll work for us as well with James Justin. As I say, he's a great athlete. He gets up and down. He played so many balls into the box, first-time crosses as well against Brighton. It was fantastic. So I'm going to have him on the right. The two in the middle, I'm going for the Little Wes and Big Wes. So for me, Morgan comes in for Johnny Evans, and that's because, as I said before, I think we need to be physical with Calvert-Lewin. I don't think we can afford to have somebody who's not prepared for a physical battle. And Morgan, he isn't the most mobile. He is an athlete, but what he is a good defender when the balls are being put into the box. That's why he's always brought on in the last 5-10 minutes of a game. The ball seems to get attracted to the size of him. I don't know, maybe it's his own magnetic field that he carries around with him. But, you know, for me, someone like Morgan is more likely to relish the physical battle that Calvert-Lewin will offer. So he's going to be there alongside Wesley Fofana for me. And I'm going to go with Fuchs as left back. So I know Brad and Mark, and you can all have a bit of a shock there. I did and ah about putting.
I'd left for a little bit to let you go through that, but can I? You carry on with why he's in, and then we'll have it before you go into the midfield. I'll come back to you on this one.
Because I mean, I was thinking of putting Luke Thomas in there, but I don't think you can have two left backs who like to run forward. And for me, if you've got that on one side, it means that if Wesley Fofana needs to come out to the right, indeed he can slip in and fill that gap. On the left-hand side, I'm not sure that would happen so much. So I would prefer someone like a Fuchs, who is a more of an out-and-out defender, to be stronger down that side. And I don't think he does get forward, but he doesn't get as advanced as Luke Thomas does. And therefore, for me, if you've got a marauding right back, I think it makes sense to have the left back on the other side as a proper defensive left back to stop yourself getting caught out down the side. And as I say, we need to stop the service in. So that's why I've picked Fuchs to play on the left.
Well, and you eloquently defend your decision there. My worry is with Fuchs, and I love this guy to bits. And I've got to be honest with you, it was quite funny because when we were talking on Saturday when I was on Talk Sport, it was brought up the fact that I joked that once you're in the Leicester City squad, you never get out, because they were saying Christian Fuchs was trying to leave for 3 years, and we won't let him. It's a bloody good job we didn't let him this year, because we struggled. But they said he is starting to look. I use the word leggy. They were hinting that he's fast. I mean, he is virtually, I think, playing every game. You know, he's getting on a bit now. Is he 33, 34, something like that? And yet we are playing this guy. We're not doing it with Morgan, but we're playing this guy twice a week. And he's, like I say, played more games so far this year than in the past 3 seasons, or all told. I do worry. I think, to me, if Brendan, and I don't like the back three, but if Brendan goes for a back three, I think Fuchs plays better in that role, because he's not needed to go forward and run forward and get back. He's it's about 4. He hasn't got that speed. He can get caught out down that wing. If they've got a speedy defender down. Speedy winger going down that side. He can be caught out. That's my worry with him.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, my alternative would be that you'd play Luke Thomas, because I don't think you'd want to switch James Justin to the left and have Mark Albrighton on the right, because you've got Richarlison coming down that side. So for me, it's a straight shout.
I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah. So for me, it's a straight shout between Fuchs and Luke Thomas. And what playing Fuchs allows me to do as the manager is to have more of a solid back four. As I say, giving Justin the license to go forward, not asking Fuchs to do that on the left-hand side, because that allows me to play Barnes. And Barnes has got that role for me down the left-hand side. Right. We don't necessarily need it on the right, so I'm not playing a balanced midfield that way, because I'm leaving the space for James Justin to go into.
Well, last word. I love playing this, but last word on Fuchs before we move on.
Well, I'm with the Leicester City defender Christian Fuchs ahead of the new season. You signed a contract extension to keep you at Leicester. What was the thinking behind that?
I'm old, not obsolete.
I love that. I'm sorry. It makes me smile and makes me laugh, and I'll always play that when it gets the mention. But no, I say you eloquently defended putting him in there, and I can see why you. I know I'm not against it, but I personally would have gone Thomas. I agree with everybody else. For me, it would have been Thomas on that one. Okay, then we're moving forward.
I mean, I like to. That makes it sound like you've had a lot of comments when you said you agree with everyone else that Thomas should play.
I haven't actually.
I like Thomas, and I've made the argument that he should be playing more often. But for me, I'm picking a team for this particular game, and it's all about making sure that we don't get exposed wide to get service into Calvert-Lewin. For me,
I mean, remember with this, you are the manager. And we as fans are going to have to disagree with you.
Exactly. You're quite within your rights to sit there and boo me.
Okay, so midfield. How are you setting your midfield out?
Yeah, so Ndidi sitting in front of the back four. And then I'm going to have a midfield three of Tielemans, Maddison and Barnes. Now, as I said, it may sound slightly lopsided, but to me, it makes sense that Barnes has that left-hand side to himself, because we're asking Fuchs to sit back, but we're leaving the right side open for James Justin to attack down that side. And then having Perez playing just almost like a bit of a free roll in behind Vardy.
Yeah. And then, sorry, so you're not going Perez up front?
Yeah, so Perez is in behind Vardy. He's got the free roll. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
it's Tielemans, Maddison, Barnes, and then Perez just behind Vardy.
The problem, and it's a good problem to have. And you know, I the reason that I get you to do this every week, because I would hate to do it, because it's a bit like picking your fantasy team every week. You're thinking like, oh, if I bring him in, should I drop him? Or I'll let you make decisions. I mean, that, you know, if you look at it, that is an absolutely good team. But then, you know,
I think so.
Yeah, I'm glad you have the belief in your decisions. But is under unlucky?
He is unlucky, as I say, but for me at the minute, because we haven't got the balance, you know, we haven't got the balance of the back four that we would want. It's a gamble for me. You're either playing Under or Barnes. I think if you play both, you leave yourself a little bit short in the middle, because neither of them are great at tracking back. You know, as much as you want Barnes to track back, I don't think he's got it in him to do it. I don't think he's tough enough physically not to do it. So I would like him to sort of concentrate on getting the ball and going forward. And I think if you've got Under on the other side, I don't think you can then play Perez, which means so you've got Under, you've got Barnes, you've got Vardy, you've got three players who are not really going to track back. We don't necessarily want Vardy to track back, but I don't think the others will offer you much offensively. So that's why I've given Under a place on the bench, but I would definitely like to see him getting a bit longer, getting a good 30 minutes in games and seeing what he can do.
I mean, they said about Vardy when he played Brighton. I mean, I think I'm sure there's a header off the line, but he blocked a shot on the line, and then 10, 15 seconds later, whatever it was running up the other bit. And this, I don't know what this guy is on, but I want to bloody buy some of it. I'll tell you and get it. I mean, Under in that game against Aston, I mean, he was on fire, and I know this is going to annoy Mark because Mark just doesn't say anything in Under. But I am not saying he's the new, Messi or the new Ronaldo. Just on that one game, he had an absolutely. He was sublime. Is he not yet ready, do you think, for the Premier League?
I think he is, but I think you've probably got to pick your games. You've got to pick the games where we're going to be on the front foot and on the offensive, and don't really have to worry too much about opposition players. Now, you've got Richarlison down that side. I don't know who's. I think the left back is probably Holgate at the moment. They're not particularly strong down that left hand side, and it may be that Under would be good there. But I think it's whether he gets in the way of James just a little bit, if that makes sense. It's the same way as I said that Liverpool don't tend to play anybody directly in front of Alexander-Arnold because that's his space. Salah's always coming in. I don't think Brendan's found a way of integrating Under yet into his team, and I'm not sure he knows where and when to sort of pitch him in. Yeah. At some point, he's going to get a start. We've got a break now. He was playing regularly in the European games, so I think over these games that we've got coming up, I think you'll see him play a more prominent part.
Yeah, let's face it. It's good that we are sat here with these choices available. You and me, like you say, I mean, I remember the black and white leather ball days, but there was times in our history when, the first 11 picked itself, not because they were particularly brilliant, it's just particularly we had nobody else to fill. So the fact that we're sitting there saying Under Barnes or Thomas Fuchs, it's a great position to be in, isn't it?
It is. It's always those things where you talk about, and I know you're going to do a special with Mark in the coming weeks as we get close to the January window. It's all that, do we buy X, Y, and Z? Oh, I'd love to get so and so, and then you have to sit back and say, right, okay, who are you dropping out the team to in this new player? So. Yes. We've already got that issue now that we can't settle on a team of the squad that we've got. We definitely need to strengthen in certain areas. But you're right; it's a great problem for Brendan to have. Obviously, it looks like Damari's decided that he's going to go now anyway. So it does leave that side up.
I have a feeling that Brendan might have decided that Damari's going to go. I don't know whether Damari actually had by all accounts, they offered him a new contract and he refused it. So, he had a chance. Some players just don't gel. I mean, I was very excited. I've got a friend down here who's a Birmingham fan who hated me for taking Demarai Gray from them. It's interesting to say that they didn't retire his shirt number when he left, like they do with some players at Birmingham. But, he's just... And I think you can say, like, he should have been given his chances, blah, blah, blah. How many managers haven't liked him? It's not just the case that Brendan doesn't like him. Prell didn't play him overly. If he was as good and he fulfilled the potential that we thought he had, he should have been a starter, And the fact that we bought Barnes back from West Brom to fill a position that, Gray wasn't nailing down kind of says it all. And like I say, if it's more than one manager thinks it, then you've got to think, it's not necessarily the manager, it's the player. I think as well the point you made about we don't need to just go out and buy players for the sake of it. Man United during the Liverpool glory years, Man United were playing catch up all the time, and they would go out and buy any player almost just to stop Liverpool getting them, but with no idea where they were going to play. I mean, it's the same with the England manager. You should be picking this or you should be backing that. We go out and buy a player, but he wouldn't necessarily fit into Brendan's plans or Brendan's formation of what he sees for the team.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's where Liverpool have been so successful. They've bought, they haven't necessarily bought players that you would have thought are superstars. Robertson looked really good when he was at Hull, and a few teams were after him, but not a proven superstar. Salah did well, was a flop when he was here with Chelsea. Firmino, I don't know, had anybody really heard of Firmino? What he tends to do is have a way of playing, a system of playing, and then he'll buy players to fit that system. Yeah. That's why he spent 40 million on Jota, because he knew that he would fit the system that he wants to play. And I think Brendan's probably of a similar mind. It's not about buying superstars, off the peg, because that's a gamble. It's a gamble, that is. But we do the due diligence.
Every manager should. Sorry, Craig. I was talking over you then. I apologise. Every manager should be doing that. They should be buying players not because they're available, not because the fans are saying this is the new guy. They should be buying players that they should say we can. He's going to fit into our system. That's why I'm not. You want me to buy player A? He's not going to fit into the system that I am thinking of buying. We'll say good evening to Larry. How are you doing, Larry? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for clicking on to StreamYard. You can see Brendan playing safe at the back with Wes Fofana and Fuchs in a 3. So different to you there, Craig. Tristan and Thomas wing back. Yuri, Wilf and Maddie in midfield with Perez and Vargas up front. Perez, great game he had again in Europe. I don't know what he just didn't. The problem is when you're watching a game on telly, if you don't hear them mentioned all the time, a player, you're thinking, "Oh, what are they doing? What are they doing?" Mendy, hardly heard of him. But he's doing a good job. Yuri Tillemans, classic, was against Brighton. I hardly heard him mentioned, but he got on with his job and did it well. And Perez. Not all about what, and I know strikers are gauged by how they score, etc. Of course they are, but it's also what they do off the ball. And he was leading defenders away, which was leaving it open for the people to have shots.
Yeah, as I've mentioned a few times on here, for me, Perez is a very clever player. I think earlier in the season he got a little bit down when things weren't going for him, and he lost his way and he lost his place. But he is a clever player. He receives the ball really well. I mean, I think it was for the Vardy goal where he took not an easy pass that was played into him, took it down, saw the overlap from James Justin and played a perfect ball. He didn't have to break stride. And that's the sort of difference. You see that from Harvey Barnes, for instance. Harvey Barnes' passing isn't as good. It's either behind someone or it's not got the same weight. Someone like Perez, that's the sort of classy difference he brings. It's not always going to work and he's not always going to have the best game, but he has got that quality. And I think when he's not being asked to play a role that is out wide, which seems unnatural to him, then he can get on the ball more and influence the game more. So I think this position suits him. What it'll be interesting for me is, and I touched on it, I think I briefly mentioned it when you were doing the post-match show, after Brighton, was the performance of Tielemans and Maddison together. Now, for me, Tielemans has played much better when Maddison has been out of the team. And I thought it was quite noticeable that Tielemans had his quietest game for a long time against Brighton. For me, people say, yeah, he didn't get noticed, but he was there doing his job. I didn't think he did his job particularly well for me. He didn't seem as mobile getting around the pitch. He didn't seem to want the ball as much. It was almost like he was playing in the shadow of Maddison. Now, it'll be interesting to see if that happens again. And if it does, then for me, there's a problem with playing the two of them that needs to be sorted out. I hope Tielemans has a great game. I hope Maddison has a great game and they can play together. But I think it's probably something for people to just watch and have a look out for that. And if I'm totally wrong, feel free to come back in the post-match game with Chris tomorrow.
With Chris, yeah. It's all, you don't want to choose between those two, do you? Because they are probably two of the most gifted players in that team, and the thought of having to leave one out is not what we want to do. Not what we want to do. Right, we're going to just take another quick break, and then we're going to come back and we'll have a look at your classic game, which I'm sure you managed to find. While we're doing that, guys, anybody that's watching, we're going to be coming on to score predictions after Craig's classic game. So please pop your score predictions in the comments and we'll bring them up and see what you think. And we'll compare them to what Steve Lynix, Steve Walsh and Ian Marshall have chosen on the website LeicesterTillIDie.com. We'll be right back with Craig's classic match.
Guess?
Here we go. It's the classic match, and can I just say I'm really surprised and disappointed that you didn't pick the Grinch into your starting 11 there.
Well, I was just wondering because you've got him there. You're wearing his shirt. I wonder if the Grinch is wearing a Chris t-shirt at the minute.
I sent him a Leicester Till I Die t-shirt. And in fact, not so long ago, we did actually have a look at the possibility of producing Leicester Till I Die t-shirts. So I don't know. Maybe we'll put it out there that there's enough people that want Leicester Till I Die emblazoned on their chest. We can maybe get some made up and sell them. But yes, I just happen to love the Grinch. It was on the other day. I watched it, and we're only 10 days off Christmas. We should be getting out there and jingling our bells. Have you jingled your bells recently, Craig?
Not as often as I would like, Chris, I must admit. But hey ho, what can we do?
I don't know is that the cold weather or the age? It's one of them. But Christmas
moving
is coming.
swiftly on.
Yeah, we need to try and get things cheered up a little bit. But right,
just a quick one, Chris, if I may, before we go on to the team. Like you, I received my book from Barry Pierpoint, who very kindly put the inscription in that I asked for about not holding up a placard with his name on it, which he took in great spirit. So for anybody who is looking for a last minute book, a stocking filler, that it really is a fantastic book for any Leicester fan in it, and particularly anybody who was a Leicester fan during those turbulent years that we had. So I can recommend it to anybody, and a shout out and a thank you to Barry for that.
Yeah, I could have paid you to lead me into that because I wasn't going to mention that. But I was going to actually bring something up later, and I'll do it now because you've led me into it very well. I've just started reading it, and already I feel really, really old. We were actually going to have a Leicester Till I Die special show, which was about books. And I was going to have Steve Poz on, P-O-S, Steve Poz on, who's got about 4 or 5 books out, the What If books, the European Tour books, the quiz books. And he was going to go through the books and tell you about each one. And Barry was going to join us as well and have a little quick push of his book. The problem is that I had quite happily arranged. It was all set up to go. We're going to do the show, total Leicester City book show. And, of course, I'd arranged it for Wednesday night. Only sort of when I was putting it together and getting some graphics done, I thought, sure, something is happening on Wednesday night. And, of course, because I'm thinking there's no European show this week because we're not playing. I'll do that show on Wednesday night. And the fact of the matter was that Barry and Steve, neither of them came back. And they went, I can do Wednesday. Not a problem. We were going to do it Thursday. But unfortunately, neither Barry nor Steve can do it. But there is a link in the Leicester Till I Die group on Facebook and on the Twitter at Leicester TID for Barry's book. It is a great read. He's not what you expect at all. I know he's very Marmite figure. Some people hate him, etc., for what he did and what happened. He actually is a really, really, really nice guy. And when you listen to him as we did on that show, Craig, he puts his point across eloquently. And as we all know, there's always a difference of opinions, with in football, but no, it is an excellent book. It really, really is. Well said, sir. Well said. But we might be having that show, trying to fit it in between Christmas, obviously, because we've got to think about getting these things out for Christmas. Let's go on to your classic match. Leicester.
Yes. So, for me, there's a few that I could have gone for, as I mentioned briefly before. The cup game where I saw Musa score 2. I was thinking earlier. There was a fantastic game.
I wish we'd kept Musa. I liked him.
Well, he might have got a few games and given Vardy. We've been able to give Vardy a rest, but people want to play football, don't they? And that's the thing. There was a great game I remember down at Filbert Street as well when Mark Bright scored a couple of fantastic goals for us. But obviously, if you ever listen to Mark Bright these days, he only played for Palace. But that's another story. So the classic match for me, there is only one, and I'm sure you can probably guess which one I may go for, Chris, because there's a little quiz that I'm going to give you on the back of this. So 7th of May 2016.
This was the.
I'm sure you remember that.
Oh no, it's not the one I thought you were going to go for.
No,
I was thinking of a certain match where we just sold Mr. Lineker.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, you know what? We can talk about that off air because I'll need another game for when we play them later in the season. For me, this has to be the game. 7th of May 2016. The game was almost irrelevant because it was followed by the lifting of the Premier League trophy. Can you remember, Chris, as a fan? So the 7th of May 2016, obviously we had the operatic tenor beforehand. Can you remember, Chris, as the Leicester City fan, the score in that game and who scored?
Right, okay. Everton got 1. I believe we got 3, but it should have been 4. It should have been 4. Vardy missed a goal, which ultimately cost him the Golden Boot, or a share of the Golden Boot, because it left him one behind Harry Kane. He got a penalty and he missed a penalty. One of my all-time favourite Leicester City players, a certain Andy King, got 1. And there's a classic picture of him sort of in the downpour, because it did piss down at one point. In that yeah. I'm doing well. Give me credit here, because I am, and I'm not Googling it because my hands are here, so I'm not Googling. I am struggling. Did Vardy get 2?
Well, is that your answer, Chris? Can I take that as your final answer?
I don't think I've done too bad. If I only miss one of the goal scores, I'm going to go for that. Yes.
You're quite right. Vardy got 2. Yeah. Andy King got 1 in a 3-1 win. I would have given you a bonus. Could have told me the Everton scorer.
No. God,
no.
I've no idea. Who cared?
Exactly. It was a late consolation from Kevin Morales. But as I say, for me, that will always be the game against Everton that I remember the whole day. And people talk about the fact that it was a bit of a shame that we didn't win the game. We didn't win the Premier League on our own turf by winning a game. But for me, you look at that, the fact that we won it in the week when Chelsea got that great draw against Spurs meant that we had the opportunity to arrange everything that happened on that day. That day from start to finish was just something that will live in the memory. Andrea Bocelli singing alongside Claudio. everything that was done that day. It just allowed us to enjoy the day rather than be in the middle of a game hoping that we won the game and we won the league. Yes, it would have been great relief at the final whistle, but we wouldn't have had that whole day of looking forward to going down to the ground, knowing that we'd won it and we were going to get the trophy at the end of it. So I think, in hindsight, I think it was a great way.
Can I ask you a question then on the back of that?
Yeah.
And it's not a test question. I won't do that to you. But I don't care how we win it, to be honest with you. And I think had we needed, because we'd got Chelsea as the last game, and that was never, and it was at their place, and that was never going to be sort of a pushover, and it wasn't. We got a draw in the end. Great Danny Drinkwater strike. He wasn't knocking anybody out on that game, was he? But I just think the fact that we'd won it released the shackles a little bit. And I know in the past, we did that once in the past, and Brighton went and stuffed us after we'd won the championship. I think the players were hungover, but it meant we could relax more, and it was another great performance. And I think had we needed to win that, knowing that Chelsea was coming up, and I know that it wasn't a classic Chelsea side, but I know I just wanted to win it. I didn't care how, and I think, like you say, that brought Leicester. That showed the world, if you like, how we organised that. That was brilliant. Like you say, Andrew, all right, but yeah, I've got to totally agree with you on that.
I think we would have got the result if we'd have needed it, because that's how we played all season. When we needed to grind something out, we managed to grind something out. What I would say is, because it was almost we almost won it twice. We had that great euphoria of Eden Hazard's goal going in for the draw and the final whistle at Stamford Bridge. And in that draw, we could all enjoy that moment. Town went crazy in those old-fashioned days when you used to be able to go into town and mix with other people. And, and then we had the day itself. So we in many ways, we won that trophy twice, and we had two opportunities to celebrate. So, so that's got to be the classic Everton match for me.
I don't care what people say that Eden Hazard won it for us. Eden Hazard got a goal that took us across the line. We'd played 36 other games before that had got us to that position. And I always make me laugh, because Spurs. That was the day when Spurs just totally imploded, and. I often, to be honest with you, I often watch it back, and it comes up as sort of one of the most disgusting games ever played in the Premier League because of all the fighting and what have you. And I forget who was the ref that day, but I think he came out and said, yes, it was, and he actually came out and said, I wasn't going to book any players or send any Tottenham players off because they were never going to blame me for costing them the title. Yeah. And I'm thinking, they imploded anyway. But Andy, I think I was with you there. I was slightly intoxicated that day. I was actually, because I hadn't got, this is typical me, right? I had a season ticket for the Great Escape. Yeah. I live in Poole, 3.5 hours away, 7-hour return journey, travelling up every home game, back, up, see us lose. And we still did it. And I thought, you know what? I can't do that again next season. Gave my ticket away. And could I actually get a ticket for that game? At one point, and Everton fans were selling tickets and what have you, and I was just about on the process of getting a ticket from an Everton fan for like 70 quid or something stupid. And this was like the day before. And a good friend who had connections at the club, let me say, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, managed to get me a ticket. My only disappointment was that my son was coming up to the end of his uni year and he just couldn't spare the time to come with me and tell him. But I celebrated with a guy next to me who I'd never seen before, never seen since. I had absolutely no idea who he was, but my God, we loved each other and hugged that day, And Larry's saying Chelsea lost a good start to the midweek games.
It was 1-0 to Chelsea when I last saw it. So no, that's excellent.
I don't even know who they were playing, to be honest with you. Wolves. Wow. It's a weird season, isn't it? It is totally a weird season this year. You don't know. Well, look at our season, you know. But right, let's just have another quick break. We have 10 seconds, and then we're going to come back, and you're going to predict the correct score for me, Craig.
Hi, this is Chris from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for watching and listening. Have a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy.
Nobody got the score prediction right last week. We all went. Three of us went for wins, but none of us got the actual score right. Brad was the closest. I'm going to be honest with you with a 3-1. And let me just say,
I think I went 3-2. Yeah.
Got to do. You always do something different. You always go with a 3-2. But let's have a look what we've got up here. We've got Steve Walsh has gone 2-1 to Leicester. Steve Lynix and has gone 1-1. Ian Marshall has gone 2-2, and I have gone 2-2 as well, because I think Everton. I think it will be a good barometer of where we're going this season.
Would you have gone 2-2 now that you've heard my amazing team selection, Chris? So you're still sticking with 2-2?
I can't guarantee that Brendan's going to put that team. If Brendan was going to put that team out, I would have gone 4-0 Leicester. You know what I mean?
I'm going to go for a 2-1.
2-1. Okay.
Yeah.
You used to sit in front of me in SK3. I've had a couple of season tickets around the place, Andy. So quite possibly. Did you not? You should have flicked me on the head and said hello. But and Andy has gone. He's agreed with me. Obviously, great brains think alike. 2-2. But we should. I'd love. Let's say I'd love it win. If we win, I think it is a good sign of where we have come this season. But just quickly before we go, and we are going to go in a second. We've been nattering as we always do for these. They do go on. Once you get talking about Leicester, we could be here all night, couldn't we? But let's have a look at the foot in both camps. 5 players, managers, etc., that have had an association with both teams. And let's see. You'll probably know all of these. I've got to be honest with you, but let's have a look. Even the Everton fan has forgotten about Yakubu.
There's one other one that I put in there, and who was a great player for us, and I think we ended up selling him to Everton, and that was Ian Wilson. I'm sure he left us to go to Everton, but he was a great player for us, Ian Wilson.
Yeah, I must admit, I always like that little bit of a thing there, just to say, yeah, they went, and of course Lineker, who can forget him going. Craig, as always, It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure too, Chris.
Brilliant. I'm glad you said that, otherwise I'm going to cut you off. Let's hope we do get that win tomorrow. And if the Chelsea are lost, I mean, all the games went for us next week. All the games went for us at the weekend. Let's hope that's going to happen again. Next week, see you next Tuesday, as they say. I want to see you with a Christmas. I want to see you festive, Craig.
Well, I think, Chris, you'll probably see me on Thursday.
I will. That is so good. Thank you for reminding me of that. I've got it on my notes, but that's on the next card. Yeah. So, guys, if you join us tomorrow night at about 10:30ish, I think, just after 10:30, we'll be doing the post-match show with Brad and ex-Fox Julian Watts again. He'll be joining us, which is always good to see the two fans' view of the game and a professional's view of the game. That's always great. And then on Thursday, we're back. The two Ronnies of Leicester Till I Die. Yes, indeed. And we're going to be looking at the Spurs game. They're coming thick and fast.
They are indeed, and that's going to be a real barometer, I think, of where we are this season.
Oh, definitely. Well, all I can say is it's always almost the same, but see you next Thursday.
Yes, indeed. Cheers, Chris. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Craig. You take care of yourself. So thanks a lot to Craig there. Yeah, we've got Everton tomorrow, and then we've got Spurs, which I said right at the start, got my dates mixed up. Spurs are going to be popping up on Sunday. But maybe they'll catch us. Maybe they've come for us and they've finally caught us. We will see. But it's Everton tomorrow. Don't forget, 6 o'clock kickoff. It's on Amazon. If you haven't got Amazon, get your free Prime month's trial and get on the watching. It's really good coverage that they do, in fairness, if it works, as one or two people have said it doesn't. But I had no problems with it at all. So we'll be back after that, like I say, with Brad. And just to let you know, starting with the Spurs game, it's a bit too late to try and fit it in tomorrow. But like with the chase and an extra chaser, we have got an extra presenter joining us. A gentleman called Josh. We are going to be doing a new show, which is going to be the pre-match show. So you got used to Brad with the post-match show. This is Josh with the pre-match show. So we'll be doing that half an hour before kickoff, just for 30 minutes, because obviously we're going to go and watch the game when they kick off. But by then we'll have seen who will be the team, and we will be discussing that, the team and the formation, etc. So watch out for that on Sunday. But don't forget, if you've enjoyed it, get onto YouTube, subscribe, give us a like, and give the bell a little tinkle. Dilly dong, as they say. Spotify, Apple, and all the rest of the other podcasts, we are on there. They're all down the side, that side there. That's where you can find us. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your comments. I hope you've enjoyed it as always. And we'll see you tomorrow night, post-match, with Brad and with Julian. Take care, guys, and don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
Shut up and sit down.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.